Black Ops 6 Zombies is mid. Anyways, now that I've got y'all's attention. Hey y'all, it's Maple here, A.K.A. Killer Moth's #1 fanboy, and in today's video, we will be talking about Black Ops 6 and my thoughts on it so far. I haven't made many videos on it because every time I do, they do horrible, but I have been playing it quite a bit despite not making much content on it. As of writing and recording this, 2 DLCs are out, and I've heard rumors about there being more than 4 DLCs, but since there are usually only 4, I'm making this now in case this really is the midpoint. This is my first video essay like this, so let me know what y'all think of this type of content in the comments below. Enough of that, time to get into the actual focus of this video. So, about that. I actually don't know how to start this video. Like I said before, I've never done a video essay, and I'm not really good at usual essays either. I had a couple of ideas on how the video should go, but I can never figure out how to truly flesh it out into a full video. So I guess for this video, I'll just start off with the maps and...
You've done the Easter eggs, right?
Start. StarklyPlays, famous YouTuber and the first to get to 999 on Terminus with no gobblegums? Alright, cut that out. Starkly, what are you doing here?
Well, I just so happened to hear you were making a video about Black Ops 6, and I just couldn't help myself.
How did you hear that? Don't you live in, like, Europe or something? Aren't you in Australia?
Those are 2 completely different countries, dude.
Oh, I meant Asia.
Oh my god, you're completely geographically illiterate.
Anyway, this video is not about that. Why are you here again?
Like I said, I heard you were talking about the maps. You must have done everything you can on them if you're going to talk so much about them, right? You've at least done the Easter eggs, right?
Well, thanks for stopping by. See you next time. In all actuality, that is the one thing I have to say about these maps we have so far. I get that there will be some people that will, most likely, think that I should have at least done the main quest before I made the video, but that's the thing. These maps don't interest me enough to do them. I've done them for Liberty and the Tomb, but not yet Terminus or Citadel. It's been a bit since I've even touched Citadel, and even longer since Terminus. However, that is not to say that they are bad maps. And to prove that I don't think they are horrible, I want to go through each one and talk about what I like and dislike about them. Liberty Falls is an alright map. I think it is a great starter map, so maybe that's why I don't enjoy it too much. The Easter egg is quite simple, but that isn't a bad thing. It's great that it's simple for the beginners of the game, and I feel like with the reward you get after it could be a great way to get set up for a high round attempt, but I'll touch more on that later. The jet gun returns, and oh my gosh did it get a glow up. The fact that it doesn't break this time is wonderful, and it's really cool that it has the regular use of sucking up zombies as well as the effect of blowing them away when you hold the aim button. And the quest to build it isn't anything tough either, which is really great. The bowling alley is a neat place, especially for training around, and along with the jet gun, it reminds me of Transit. The vault is very cool too, and the rewards you can get from it are great as well, especially the fact that it can give you score streaks. The tier 2 and 3 Pack-a-Punch camos are really nice looking. Blue on tier 2 looks like ice, and tier 3 reminds me of a watermelon. And what about tier 1? Well, now that we've talked about the positives, let's dive into the negatives. First off, the tier 1 camo. My gosh, do I hate it. The first time I saw it, it literally made me think of beans. Like in my first playthrough video of the map, I put that into the video. I'm not sure how I feel about this color though. While the quest for the jet gun isn't terrible, it does feel like you're running around quite a bit from one place to another. Mainly for the step in the bowling alley having to get the one piece on one side of the map and then go to the other side. Same with the Easter egg. While it isn't too bad, that does happen quite a bit. It wouldn't be so bad if it weren't for the canister slowing you down when you're carrying them. I do like the vault, but most of the time, by the time I get around to it, the rewards I get are useless because of how late into the game I get them, like the perks. That's what I have to say about Liberty Falls. Next we have Terminus. Let me start off by saying that I am not a big fan of Terminus. Or rather, let me say this. From Black Ops 6, I only really enjoy Liberty and the Tomb. These next two are alright, especially Terminus. If I had to rank the 4 maps, Terminus would be at the bottom. That is not to say it is horrible, but the map is just meh. This is the one that I find myself coming back to the least. But it does have some good things going for it. The first thing that comes to mind are the Pack-a-Punch camos. Aside from Liberty Falls, I think these camos stand out to me the most, mostly because they remind me of the fire camos from Garad Crovy. What I enjoy the most about the map is the aesthetic of it. It looks really nice, especially the outside areas. It's also really neat how there are different islands that you can actually travel to with the boats, even if I don't go to them a lot. And the Wonder Weapon is fun too, despite the quest for it being not so fun. I actually got it for the first time recently, and only got to use it for a little bit before getting cornered and not being able to save myself because my Ether Shroud was not recharged. Well, what about your self-revive?
Can't believe I got hit. Need
Crystal maturation failure. Reboot in progress.
Unfortunately, that's where I run out of good things to say about Terminus. This is a map where the cons outshine the pros. I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of the parasites in this game, and I'm bringing them up here because they came from this map. The vermin are a neat enemy, and are much more fun to fight against compared to the parasites. They are just annoying, to put it bluntly, and they attack you too quickly, much faster than they did in Black Ops 3. And I think that's why they're so annoying, because of how fast they attack you. Speaking of enemies from this map that I dislike, ugh. Listen, and I am being so real here, I don't think I've ever disliked, no, hated an enemy or mini-boss more than the amalgams. To explain why, let me talk about some of the other challenging mini-bosses. Like, let's take the Panzer Soldat for example, from Black Ops 2, not the BO3 version because that one sucks a lot. The Panzer is a great mini-boss because it's not super challenging or difficult to kill. He's stubborn, but not impossible to kill. Let's look at the Margwa as well. The Margwa is an even greater challenging boss because of how you have to take it out. It's invincible everywhere but its mouths, but it's not like you have to pour an insane amount of bullets into its mouths to kill it. It's a challenging but fair mini-boss, and that's what makes it fun. The Amalgam is nothing like this. You have to pour many bullets into it to kill it. And its weak spots might as well not even be there, because it feels like they barely do anything at all. Every other mini-boss in BO6 is miles better. The Mangler, the Doppelgast, even the Mimic. We'll get to those last two soon enough though. Even the Abomination isn't as much as a hassle to deal with because it plays like the Margwa from Black Ops 3. Sure, it takes a bit of time to kill, longer than the other 3 from the game, but it doesn't feel like it's a sponge that consumes your bullets and makes them feel like they do nothing. Those weak spots actually do something, unlike the Amalgam. It'd at least be better if it gave you something in return for killing it, but like all the other mini-bosses, it drops score streaks. Sometimes. You aren't even guaranteed a score streak every time you kill it. I guess it'd be overpowered if it did because of how much they spawn in the later round. You know what? Never mind. Don't even get me started on that. We'll talk about that later. I want to move on because I've spent a bit of time on this one point, but let me finish off with this. From my memory, all other mini-bosses are fine because they are either fun to work against, not hard to eliminate, or give you something good in return. The Amalgam fits into none of these categories. Anyways, Terminus as a map is just meh. Other than the parasites and amalgams, I don't have much complaints about the map, but not much good to say about it either. It just exists. But I think Terminus giving us the amalgams tanks it down a bit, and I cannot forgive the map nor the devs for giving us that creation. Okay, so I may have fibbed a little. I actually like Citadel a bit. At least I do now. When I first played it, it was alright. Better than Terminus, but it was still just okay. I replayed both Terminus and Citadelle Des Morts for the video so I could actually go through and note down what I do and don't like about each map. And to say that I actually used the wonder weapons for the maps as well. And when I played Citadel again, I enjoyed it a bit more than I had previously. So let's talk about that. Like with Terminus, the atmosphere and aesthetic of the map are both really cool. I really love the above ground area, not so much the below ground area though. The Void Sword is really cool too. That's the one I've used the most. And one of the two that I've actually built. I can't not talk about Vulture's Aid's return on Citadel. Out of the 3 perks from the Victus maps, Vulture's Aid deserved it the most, and oh my gosh, is it glorious. The perk plays the same as it did before, but the thing I love the most about it is the perk icon. It looked good and buried, but the color palette it has in BO6 is amazing. It and Deadshot both got wonderful perk icon upgrades. I could not be happier about how they look. But what I love the most is the Doppelgast. Remember how I talked about mini bosses sometimes being fun and challenging? The Doppelgast is an example of that. The way that it moves around rapidly and bounces from one spot to another so as to not stay in a single file line towards you like the zombies do, makes it a fun challenge that also isn't too difficult to take care of. I'd go as far to say that on the ranking of my favorite mini bosses from BO6, the Doppelgast is at the top. As for the complaints, obviously we have the return of the amalgam. Yuck. Aside from that, it can be a bit of a hassle having to run from one side of the map to the other if you need to get something. And sure, the fast travels exist, but most of the time I forget that they are even a thing on this map. The Pack-a-Punch camos on this map are honestly forgettable. The camos on the other 3 maps I was able to imagine while making the script, but I was blanking on the camos for Citadel. Liberty's is memorable because Tier 1 looks like beans. Terminus's is memorable because of its similarity to Karad Kurovi's camos, but Citadel? Even while typing this part, I forgot what any of them look like. The swords, in my case sword, while being really fun to use, can be quite risky with how fast the zombies get in the later rounds. They are way too quick to use the swords entirely comfortably, and maybe that's why I don't play it much. I do Easter eggs every now and then, but if I am playing, it's usually for a challenge or for high rounds. And it sucks that on Citadel, the wonder weapons can be too risky sometimes, and feel more of a detriment to use than actually worth it to use. Overall, Citadel is a nice map, certainly better than Terminus, but not one I find myself coming back to a whole lot, just because of the risky nature of the swords and the you-know-whats. It has its ups and downs, and because of that, it's a middle of the road map, one that I find fun, but only when I'm playing it. Finally, I can talk about the Tomb. The Tomb is easily my favorite map in Black Ops 6 so far, and it's quite a big reason as to why I made this video, to fanboy over it. In a map ranking of the game, Terminus would be at the bottom, and Tomb would be at the top. It is leagues better than the other maps, even if they were combined. Anyways, let's calm down and start with the good, then the bad, because despite how great of a map it isn't perfect. First of all, I love the look of the map. It's kind of the opposite of Citadel though, where I like the underground area more than the spawn, and not to mention the ether. My gosh, is it so pretty. We need more maps that have color in them and aren't just gray and blah, like pretty much the other 3 maps in the game so far. I forgot to say it in my first playthrough video, but the underground area, mainly where Quick Revive is, it looks very similar to the area in the climax of Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. Anyone that has seen the movie, you know what I mean. I'm still on the fence about how I feel for the Easter egg, because for the most part, it is really easy, but the boss fight is certainly a challenge. A good challenge or a bad challenge, I've yet to decide. I just know that the first time I did it, I was quite upset about dying to the zombie in the Doppelgast holding the artifact. I haven't gotten it yet, but the tier 4 armor is an epic feature, but it was too difficult for me, so I haven't completed it yet, and can't say much about it. But the fact that it's a thing is great. The camos for Pack-a-Punch are pretty neat as well. Not great like Terminus or tier 2 or 3 of Liberty's camos, but they are still good. And best of all, the Doppelgast makes a return. No, I'm just kidding. I do like that they are back though. The Ice Staff is back and better than ever. Well, I'll get to that in a second, but yes, I love that the Ice Staff is back. It looks great. I think the camo you get for completing the Easter egg looks really nice too. Origins is my favorite map ever, so the fact that the Ice Staff returned is great. I still think the Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3 versions are better, but this version of it is amazing. Except one thing. It's hard to know exactly when a charged shot is ready for the staff, unless you're holding it down for 5 minutes. Sometimes I end up shooting a single shot because I didn't hold down the button for long enough. If only there was a way to tell when the charged shot is ready. That's my biggest complaint for the map and the Ice Staff. Why did they get rid of the indicator that the charged shot is ready to be shot? It is the one thing I really dislike from an otherwise great map. A lot of the time, when I first started going for high rounds on this map, that was the reason I had gone down, because the charge shot did not shoot and I got swarmed. It really sucks that they got rid of that, and again, for what reason? Aside from that, we have the amalgams being back, which always sucks, but I wanted to take a second to talk about the mimics. I know a lot of people dislike the mimics, but I don't think they are that bad. They have the pulling ability like the amalgams, which isn't real bad, except for when they are slowed by the ice staff, and then they do it, and then the blizzard's gone, and all the zombies swarm you and down you. I think y'all can guess I've had that happen quite a few times. Really though, it's only bad when you're on a high round with super sprinters and a mimic pulls you in and stuns you, and then you go down because you're stunned. Speaking of the amalgams, this is the one map where they aren't super bad because the ice staff slows them too, and rarely do they pull you in. It's usually the mimics that do that. Though I noticed it first on this map, so I'll talk about it here. But when the amalgam pulls you in, while you stand there, the zombies still have the opportunity to hit you, and then the amalgam can damage you too once it finally pulls you in, and that is really annoying. Also, death perception is back. I'll be honest, this really feels like a waste of a perk that could have been on the map. Something better could have gone in its place, like Vulture's Aid. The only time I end up getting it is when I use Perkaholic. Other than that, I love the Tomb. It is easily the best map so far, and I hope Treyarch can put out more great maps like it. And even with the complaints I have, I still find myself playing it so much because it is just that great. It is the only one I was determined to high round on, the only one I wanted to do the Easter egg on, because I liked it that much. I love the Tomb. Alright, I've gone map by map and talked about what I love and didn't love in each of them. But I still have a few more things to talk about that I both like and dislike. These things are more so gameplay mechanics rather than things found on one map, or maybe they're on multiple maps, so I wanted to talk about them here. First of all, starting off with the positives, the augments. The augment system is a very cool way of letting people choose how they want to go about the way that they play. It gives them multiple abilities to choose from for each perk, field upgrade, and ammo mod, without it being too overpowered or making things super easy like it was in Cold War. One thing that I've noticed about the perks, but haven't seen people talk about, are the perk choices for the maps. Mostly the perks are the same on each map, though a few of them will have been changed or added. Like on Liberty Falls, you aren't able to get Deadshot until the Wonder Fizz spawns, and on Citadel, you can only get PhD from the Wonder Fizz. I like it because I think it makes it so you have a different playing style on each map. It makes the gameplay experience feel fresher instead of it being the same thing over and over again. Like on Liberty, maybe you'd use the GS45, but on Citadel, you might not because there's no PhD, and you'd be more inclined to use a different weapon and get Deadshot. That's how it is for me, at least. I also have to talk about the save and quit system. It is great that after all this time, we have a feature where you can save and quit and resume playing later. Not everyone has the time to sit for hours straight and play matches to high rounds, or wants to leave their consoles on for that long. So it is great that they added that. I said earlier that I'd touch on this later, and now is later. If that makes sense. The rewards you get after completing the main quests is a great addition. It allows you to get set up to go for a high round if you wanted it, which usually is what I end up doing. I am a big fan of that addition. I love the mutant injections. It is so cool that you can use it to turn into a mangler, and that it's good at any point in the game. The fact that you are invincible while you activate it and when you use it makes it great for if you get cornered or are low on health. Though this leads into the negatives, starting with one of the biggest negatives, and one that I'm sure you've heard before. It really sucks that score streaks feel like they are a necessity for high rounds, mainly the mutant injections. You could go for high rounds without them, but it'll be harder with how fast the zombies get, and all the mini bosses that spawn. Speaking of, let's talk about the mini boss spam. I get that Treyarch probably did it to make the gameplay harder and not super easy for players to get to high rounds, but it is ridiculous how many mini bosses spawn into the higher rounds. There have been more times than I can count on my fingers where I'm high rounding on the Tomb, and I have 5 mimics and at least 2 doppelgasts that spawned in and chasing after me, as well as the regular zombies. And I've had multiple times where I've downed because I've gotten hit by multiple mimics in just a few seconds. It's what makes mainly the mimics super annoying to deal with. Another thing that I have to say is about the look of the game. Maybe it's just a me thing, but the graphics feel like a bit of a step down. I don't know what they did, but the graphics don't look as good as they did before. Maybe it's the fact that I play on Xbox, or maybe it's the monitor that I use. I don't know, but they don't look the best. And while graphics aren't everything, It bugs me because Cold War had beautiful graphics. Every map looked nice on there. Hot take, I'd even say that Black Ops 3 has amazing graphics, and it and Cold War are tied in fighting for the #1 spot in graphics. So it's weird to me that for whatever reason, and maybe it's just something about the equipment I use, that it feels like a step down. Also, what's with the pause timer? It's very stupid that you can only pause for a certain amount of time before the game either unpauses or saves and quits. I have mixed feelings about the point system in the game, and the same goes for Cold War 2 since it started out in that game. I don't mind the change to this new point system, but I feel like with it, you aren't able to do a whole lot of challenges like you could in older games. Like, let's just say you wanted to do a challenge where you wanted to stick with one gun the entire game. Even if it was bad, in old games you could do it, because there, you got points per shot instead of points per kill. It feels limiting in some ways due to that, but other than that, the system is fine. I can't end this video without talking about Gobblegums. Gobblegums made their official return in Black Ops 6, not having been in the game since Black Ops 3. I don't exactly want to say that I dislike Gobblegums, but it is a mixed bag, as I both like and dislike the way that you earn them. It's neat that they made it so you earn them by playing instead of having to earn something like Liquid Dividium to get them. But it feels so slow to earn Gobblegums, and even in later rounds when you're supposed to be earning rarer ones, I still end up getting blues and purples. I said this before in the video, but I will say I do like the looks of the Gobblegums in BO3 instead. And not just because, oh, BO3 is better. The designs of the Gobblegums made them feel more unique than they do here. The colors of the Gobblegums in BO3 were chosen by their action. Blue for if they last for a certain amount of rounds, green if they are time-based, purple if they have to be manually activated by pressing up on the D-pad, and orange if for instance an in-the-game thing. In Black Ops 6, the Gobblegums are all one color based on their rarity. They probably did that so it was easier to tell which rarity it is, but I feel like the old system worked just as fine and again made the Gobblegums feel more unique. I want to state this here because it might seem like this is the idea I'm getting at, but BO6 is not a bad game. It is a fun game and I've been playing it a lot recently. It just has its ups and downs, but so does every zombies game. I've been enjoying Black Ops 6 a lot, I truly have. The purpose of this video isn't to trash the game, just to give my thoughts on it as someone who has been playing it for a bit of time. A lot of the things that I have to say were nitpicks, but if Treyarch were to fix some of the more major problems, the amalgams, mini-boss spam, this would be a much greater game and probably would be more of a favorite of mine. As to not end this video on the negatives, I do want to give credit where credit is due again, and just say how great of a map the Tomb is, and how great of a mini-boss the Doppelgasts are. As said before, the Tomb is easily the best map in Black Ops 6 right now, and the Doppelgasts are the best mini-bosses in the game. The game is still quite some fun, and I am excited to see the remaining DLC maps we have in store. Hey y'all, thanks for watching this video. Before the video officially ends, I just want to give a shout out to StarklyPlays for making a cameo in this video. I'd really check out his content if I were you. He makes some great content on his YouTube channel. And the thing that I said before wasn't made up. He really is the first in the world to get to round 999 on Terminus using no Gobblegums, so I have to give him kudos for that one. Playing Terminus, that must have been the real challenge. Really though, congrats to him, that is an impressive feat. Go check him out if you haven't already, he makes great content, and thank you again for making an appearance for the bit.
As the kids would say, it's all Gucci.
Oh, not this again.